Alright, so to make a site you're going to need, to make a site for Planetside 2 you're going to need to have the recursion mod installed, which is totally legal by the way, they don't care if you have it. And then you also need to have Planetside 2, just by the way. And you should definitely have some kind of free PNG image editing system like GIMP or Photoshop. It needs to be able to be a PNG, because if it's not a PNG it cannot be transparent. I mean, I'm sure there's other images that can be transparent, but PNGs are just the most common. Okay, step 1. Create a new image the size of your screen. My screen is currently 1600 by 900, but I'm sure yours is different. Doesn't really matter. Create a new layer. And just call it like reticle or something. And then delete the background layer. If it's just delete the background layer. Make sure that these new layers are transparent. So you gotta go down to here and fill with transparency. It just makes it a lot easier. Now we head over to Planetside.
Session started.
What you're going to do now is you're going to head towards the VR training. Now, depending on how you play, I'd recommend going to full screen because it's a lot easier to do it in full screen. Alright, let me just go check to see if the recording software still works. Whatever. Now what you're going to do is we're going to get a sniper with a scope. I'm just going to use the archer for now because it's easier to just use an engineer. And we're also going to get a tank. Now, I'm assuming you're going to want to use an AP lightning because that's pretty much what most people would be using a lightning for. With a long range like drop scope. I mean, I'm sure you could use Hesh for the infantry farm, but they don't, I mean, they despawn after 300 meters anyway. So we're going to get out, just equip our scope, and then take a screenshot using Windows print screen. Now what we're going to do is we're going to head over to, I'm just going to make this not full screen anymore, Windows. We're going to head to GIMP. Let's see, this is still recording. Yep. We're going to head to GIMP, and then we're going to File, Open as Layers, and then find the screenshot where you took it, which is, I don't know where yours would be, but I believe mine is in, you go to the users, and then your name, and then you go down to pictures, yeah, there we go. You just gotta make sure you know where your screenshots or folder is at. It'll probably be different for every person. And then you search by modified, go all the way up to top. Usually that'll be where it is. Now that's a display of your screen. Then you create a new layer. Call it like just middle point. Now what we're going to do with the middle point is go to the very direct center of the screen, take a red pixel, red, then go down to here where it says brush, and then click on the 1 pixel, make sure the size is actually 1 pixel, just make that red. Now we know where the center of the screen is for just normal purposes, so we can delete that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Planetside. Going to make that window full screen again. Now we're going to get into the tank, and we're going to have to start out at the longest distance because just the way we're going to be making these scopes for multiple angles, it just requires us to be at longer distances to start off with and then get closer as we keep on doing this. Or if you want to do it a little bit longer, whereas you have to create a couple more layers, we can start off close. And let's actually do that because it's a lot easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice hitting headshots on these guys. So we'll start at 50 meters. Because it just, at 50 meters, that's where, that's going to be exactly, I don't know, just starting at 50 meters because every 50 meters is the way I do it usually. So 50 meters about. And then you go up to whatever scope you're using. I'm currently using, I believe, a 1.75 scope. And then we're just going to practice hitting headshots. There we go, 1 headshot. And make sure you keep track of the area behind the guy. I would use a little red indicator to just kind of like make sure you know exactly where it was. Alright, now we know where the headshot is. So what we're going to do is we're going to line it up again. We're going to line that up and then take another screenshot. Then we're going to go back to GIMP all the way here, and then open a new as a layer. Go back to screenshots and open the screenshot you just took. And it's going to take a little bit because I'm recording and this just lags my computer. And I don't know what happened. Alright, let's try. Oh, there we go. Now we're going to take a screenshot. We're going to take this screenshot, load it up as a layer, and now we know exactly where this engineer's head is. So what we're going to do is go back to the reticle point, take another red dot, and just kind of put it where the guy's head is. Let's put the reticle all the way at the top. And then we just rinse and repeat. So you're back to full screen windowed, just to make sure that it's the same resolution as your screen. But now we're going to back off to 100 meters. So I'm just going to find another one of these guys, but that he's at, so when he's at 100 meters. 77. 95. About 100. Alright, so now I'm zoomed in. And then kind of make sure you keep your eye out on the background so you can recenter the crosshair. And once you get a headshot, you know that's pretty much as accurate as it's going to be. Alright. So there we go. And once you get a couple headshots, so that you know exactly where the point is, now this is never going to be perfectly 100% accurate because, I mean, we're just using like in-game testing. but it is pretty accurate at longer ranges, because if you're able to get headshots consistently, you know it's essentially where you'll essentially know exactly where the shots are going to land. And plus, at long ranges, you're going to be hitting tanks. So anyway, take another screenshot. Go back to windowed, and then go to GIMP. And then you just delete that old one. Add the new one as layer. This will take a bit on my computer because I'm currently recording the entire screen. Then you open up that new screenshot. And then you take the new dot and you put it here in the center of his head. Now you can see that like it's not super even, so what this means is you can probably essentially just kind of guesstimate that dot's actually going to be there, because at the closer ranges it's not very precise, because I mean the head is so big compared to the dot. So if we head back to 50 meters, like I'm sure that we could pretty much aim like directly at his head and we still get a headshot. Yeah. So anyway, so now what you do is you go to recursion. No, you go to GIMP. You delete the screenshot again. Then you head over to File and then save. No, export as. And then what you're gonna want to do is find the place where recursion stores its pictures for reticles. So the easiest way to do that is just to go to the recursion tracker, open up the mods manager, make sure that you get the crosshair overlay, which is this one. Just install that thing, and then head to the crosshair configure, and then just copy this thing right here down to crosshairs, and then go back to GIMP and then copy that, and then name your crosshair as like test tank reticle, because this is not going to be the finished reticle. And then export that, and then you got to make sure you export it as a PNG, and then export that. Now head back to the mod manager. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find the crosshair that we just made, which is I just search by date modified, test tank reticle, save it. You gotta make sure to do that. You're gonna go to Planetside, and then assuming recursion is running, which I'm gonna go make sure it is. Which, yep, it is. What you gotta do is find the keybind that makes your reticle come up, and often it'll already be up, but whatever. So you got tools, options, key map, and then crosshair toggle. I have mine on period because it's nice and out of the way. So you go back to the game, press period. This will take a couple seconds. And also go back to full screen. And I think I might need to restart my game because, well, no, it should be working. Oh, it is. There it is. It's just very. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there we go. It's just very dim on my screen. So you can use this to test if you're accurate. So at like 100 meters, you just put the red dot on their head, and you make sure that that's actually completely accurate, which apparently is in this one. So then when you verify that all your ranges are completely accurate by just doing this for a couple minutes, like you measure the range and then kind of just know where you're going to hit them, then you go back to the GIMP editor, create a couple new layers, just call this one let's call this one cross tank, just tank circle, I guess. Now what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be making a crosshair that works at every angle that you're facing. So as long as you know where the tank is, and you know kind of where the horizon lies, you can use this crosshair to hit them. So what we're going to do is take this pencil or the brush, but depending on how depending on how hard you like the reticles, that's whatever. The brush makes them look more circular, but the pencil's slightly more opaque, I guess. So then we go back to the brush, head over to the circle, then we press the left and right bracket signs to make it bigger or smaller as it's on this. So then what we do is we make it the same size as this. And actually I'm going to go with the pencil because it's more accurate. You can see that it's like going per pixel. So we're doing that. And then we're going to go to the eraser. Line it up perfectly. And then make it a bit smaller and then erase. So now we've got a centered circle. We're going to have to make a new reticle because if we try to do that again for the bigger one. Give me 1 minute. My cat's trying to get it. Alright. So we make a new new layer, so tank circle 2, and then we make that a bit bigger. Make sure it's lined up on the center point. And then we're going to delete that again. So just kind of, you just line up your delete like hash with the old one, and then you make it like 2 or 3 pixels smaller, and then you delete it, and there we go. So now what we're going to do is, because like you'll never really use this upper part, we're going to delete it, and essentially what you're going to be doing is continuing this until it's like 300 meters or so. And you don't have to do it every 50 meters, you could do it every 100 meters, but I like 50 just because it's more accurate. And then we're gonna take the eraser, go down here to the brush with the the line, I guess. Make the aspect ratio 20, make the size pretty big. And then we're gonna go down to here at angle, make this 45 degree, well, yeah, 45 degrees. Because that's essentially the you're never going to hit a tank at more than a 45 degree angle because your tank will just slide down the hill, so you'll never actually shoot at anything with this kind of thing. So we're going to delete that, then we're going to make it go to negative 45, then line that up again, delete that, and then go back to the first tank circle, line it up here, and then 45. Line it up again, and delete that. And you might have to click a couple times to delete all these like fuzzy red stuff. Alright, now we have the circles, which is the range markers. So what we're going to do now is add a new layer for the lines. Lines, I recommend doing it in its own layer because it's pretty much its own thing. So the first one we're going to do is just a vertical drop line, because everyone, you know, vertical drop. You're going to do the single pixel because it's the most accurate on that thing, on the pencil. So you start in the very center, click once, then you just scroll straight down solid to the bottom. And what you can do to test to make sure it's perfectly straight is you hold shift and then you look down to the bottom. It says 407 pixels with 270 degrees. When it's exactly 270 degrees, it's perfectly straight down. So you just click again, and now it's a perfectly straight drop line. So what we're going to do again is click here, and then just kind of go all the way down to the right, hold shift, and once it says 315 degrees exactly, that's going to be negative 45 degrees. So there we go there. And we're going to do that again one more time on the left side. So when it says 225, I believe, exactly 225. Like, it doesn't really matter if it's exact, because I mean it'll work anyway, but I just like it, you know, to be perfectly exact. So there we go. Now we're going to do the inner degreal angles, just because there's no tanks that are ever really going to be exactly 45 degrees. So you go down, you just go straight down to the here, and then you do like a 5 degree, like it really depends on how much you want it to be. I think every 5 is fine for a tank reticle. And we're going to be deleting a lot of this excess lineage, because there's no way you're going to ever have this much drop on a tank. It works for grenade launchers, like they'll have that much drop, but no tank will ever have that much stuff. Anyway, I think 5, 10, like this is the most common angles you're going to be working at. It's just to help you with shooting when you're on a hill and you're not perfectly aligned with the ground. So at 280. And you don't have to be this precise. I just like to be, because it's just nice to be like perfectly aligned. Because as long as the line originates from the center, it will be a perfectly like aligned drop site. I just like having it always have about the same angles on all the lines. All right, there we go. And we can just assume that that's like right. So now what you're going to do is, once you have these circles down for the every 50 meters or every 100 meters, if you want, you don't have to, but you can type in, you can bring out your type and then say 50 meters and then 100. And for tank reticles, it's a lot more like close together, so I would honestly recommend not doing this, but if you want, you can. Anyway, yeah, so let's save that as tank test reticle Mark II, and then make sure it's, oh, we can't save it, sorry, we have to export it as tank test reticle Mark II. And then we head back to the recursion app. Well, actually, we gotta make sure it saves, exports, and then it's done. Head back to recursion, open up the mods folder, find your mod, go to crosshair, configure, crosshairs, tank test reticle Mark II, open that, and then you gotta make sure you save this. I keep on forgetting that, but you gotta make sure to save it. Then you go back to Planetside, and it's updated. Look at that. So now we have these drop reticles, and how you use them is you can either, it's a lot easier for infantry because it's just whichever one like lines up with the infantry man, like, and it's more apparent at longer ranges. Like that one's about 10 degrees off. So that, and you really don't need to have very much. So then we're going to head back to the here, and we're going to delete some of these lines because up here it's a bit too clustered. So we're just going to have a straight vertical drop lines for these first one. Straight vertical drop for the first couple. And we could probably even delete the 50 meter. Like, you don't need like drop for 50 meters really. But you understand how you do it now. So we're going to like go all the way over here. Now coming over here will slightly give you slightly bad values for drop because you're going to be above them a little bit. So what you can do is just sit right here and then find an engineer, range find them, 200 meters, and then see which one. And you don't need to be 100% precise with these range markers. You could probably just even like take the old ones and then just kind of make circles that are twice as big and all that, and then measure which ranges they work at. That would also work. There you go, a headshot right there. And what also works is you can record a video of yourself doing this, and then if you get a headshot, you just kind of look at the video and then see exactly where the engineer was when you shot, and then take a screenshot of the video right before you shoot and then use that instead. That would also work. But I'm just trying to line it up. Anyway, like, this is pretty tedious, and that's why it takes so long, because getting it with these high recoil like things just takes a little bit longer than like a sniper, which doesn't really have any recoil. And also the zoom is so low that it's kind of hard to hit them. And also you can just turn off your reticle if you want to see it more clearly. And I recommend turning your sensitivity down like very low. Get it general, and then just turn your sensitivity like very low. Makes it a lot easier to fine tune. Anyway, that's the basics of how to make a reticle. And if you want reticles, I have a lot of them on Imager. I have a couple of sniper reticles. They're just really only useful for the Rams 50 when it's suppressed with a 12x scope because someone asked for them. But I mean, they're just reticles. You're never really going to use the like rangefinder on an actual sniper because they're usually going to be close enough that it doesn't matter. And if they're far enough that it does matter, you won't be getting one-shot headshots anyway. So, yep. If you have any questions, feel free to just comment or email me. My Discord name is Boomchackle. Give me a minute. Yeah, you can find me on the Planetside 2 Discord. Then just at me, I guess. Just at Boomchackle, or it's James T, because that's my TR name. I've got other ones too, but on Connery. Anyway, I'm gonna end the video now just because it's late and I'm tired.